Well, it's new guitar day. Not technically new. This is a used guitar, but new to me. Now you've seen the thumbnail. This is going to go through a big transformation and we're going to get to that, I promise. But first I have to tell you something. Now a lot of you are probably not going to care and you're just like, get on with the video. But some of you might, and so I'm going to tell you anyway. I haven't made a YouTube video in quite a long time, and the reason being there's no big reveal. I just kind of got burnt out and lost motivation. I do have a wife and kids and a full-time job, and I own a house and I play worship at my church, electric guitar, and I lead maybe twice a month. So YouTube is not my full-time gig, and I can't do this in like a quiet setting until about 9 o'clock at night when the kids are in the bed and it's quiet. So those are no excuses. I'm just telling you that factors, circumstances get in the way, life gets in the way, and so thus that's what's been happening. But I am obviously making some more YouTube videos. I've got big plans. I've got another playlist or a series, obviously, on this guitar. So we're going to talk about that. Now let's talk about this right now. It may be obvious, you may already know, but this is an Epiphone inspired by Gibson, thus the newer headstock. It is a 335 block inlay figured top in raspberry tea. That's the color, not iced tea. Gibson has one in iced tea. It's essentially the same thing, like really similar, but this one is raspberry tea. So now I've already done some stuff to it, and you've seen, like I said, the thumbnail, so you know some things are going to change, and this is going to be good. So let me tell you some stuff I've already done, and I'm going to make videos detailing those things and showing you how I did them. Now, I'm no expert, but I'm just going to sort of track my progress, document it for learning purposes. That's what I've been doing with my channel since its inception. And I enjoy people's videos that I can learn from, even if they're not experts. I get cool ideas from everybody. So I'm just sharing what I learn. Okay, so what I've done so far, this guitar did not come with a Bigsby. That's the biggest, visual change right now. So I've put the Bigsby on. So let's step back a little bit. The guitar in the thumbnail is very reminiscent of the Chris Cornell olive drab green 335 that came out, his signature guitar. There was a series that came out initially, and then when he passed away, there was another series that came around. I think there was 250 of each set, so there's around 500 of these variations going around, but they're hard to get. So nowadays, if you look one up on Reverb, you're gonna pay anywhere from like $8,000 to $15,000 for one of them. Now, I'm not dead set on the Chris Cornell version. You can obviously tell if you know about that guitar that this guitar has block inlays. That's okay with me because I'm sort of a sucker for the block inlays. I just sort of like them. So I thought that would be a little variation. I'm not going for the exact Chris Cornell guitar, but I like the motif. I like the look of it. And I've been jonesing for a guitar with Lollartrons for a long time. And I was just looking for the right guitar to either put them in or maybe buy a Gretsch, since Gretsch is like, that's their thing, right? Lollartrons. But I just came across the idea of doing this, and then I went full like rabbit hole. Like, all right, how can I figure out how to do this within a reasonable budget? And I didn't even want to spend, like $3,000 on a Gibson ES335, because if I did that, it was already going to be in nitro, but it just wasn't going to be the color I wanted. It was going to be either, your typical red or sunburst or natural or black maybe, but I was going to be limited there. But I did want a, exact 335 body style. So I looked at a bunch of kits online everywhere. I really sort of scoured the internet trying to figure out if I could sort of build one myself. And I found out a lot of those are not real sort of 335s. And I may make a video about that, just all the differences that are there and how they're not really similar to 335s. Or 345s and 355s or whatever variation of that electric Spanish guitar that Gibson makes. Okay, so that's a big difference in the transformation to the Chris Cornell. This one's gonna have block inlays. So the Chris Cornell guitar is, let's talk about it a little bit and how I'm gonna have to get this guitar to that end product. Obviously the Bigsby. Now the hardware on that Chris Cornell guitar And what I'm going for is a worn-in look, so I'm going to have to relic sort of wear in the Bigsby. I'm going to make a video about how I put the Bigsby on, and then I'll make a video probably about how I relic it. I also have changed the bridge on this guitar. There was nothing wrong with the original bridge, the Epiphone bridge, but it is metric. It's a little bit more bulky. I wanted to go for a more Gibson, ABR, or Nashville. The one on the Chris Cornell guitar is a Nashville bridge. This one is a Tone Pros roller bridge. I already had it. It is the same size as a Nashville and it helps with tuning stability, so I thought I'd go ahead and use it. It's sort of been reliced by me. I might do a little bit more to give it a better patina. I've just sort of like roughed it up with sandpaper. Not rough sandpaper, but you get the idea. I also had to change the post because the Epiphone post would not accept a Nashville bridge, so we're going to talk about that. Also, what I've done thus far, I have changed the pickup rings. So you may or may not be aware that Epiphone has different size pickup rings than Gibson. They're not very different. The Epiphone ones are basically wider, and so I just wanted to get more, authentic. So I did that. Already put them on, and fortunately, the screw holes lined up. I've had a different guitar I've done this on, and they did not line up, so I had to re-drill holes. We'll talk about that, of course. Because of that, the pickguard that's on here now, I'm gonna have to replace because it has, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see this. Maybe. I'm trying to get it in the light. Probably not. Maybe. I don't know if you can see it. Anyway, there is a gap between the pickguard and the pickup rings. It's not huge, but it's visible. Also, the Gibson pickguard is different. You may or may not can guess, but it has something to do with the bevel. And so I've ordered a new guard. Hopefully it will be right. Also, the pickguard bracket on the Epiphone is a little different. I have already ordered a new one of these. Fortunately, or unfortunately, I don't know. The little the cap end, it looks like a bolt, but it's not. It doesn't have a full hole in it. It's solid on one side and it's got a hole in the other. And anyway, the cap on this actually fit for some odd reason, although it's a different thread type. So I just put this on temporarily, but I do have a completely new pickguard bracket that I'm going to have to attach to the new pickguard. And once I do that, these gaps will be filled in and it'll fit properly. Okay, so another thing I have in hand, and will eventually have to put on this guitar in its finished state. I don't have those. Let me go grab them real quick. Okay, so what I was talking about are these. These are the knobs for, I know you can't see this very well, but they're the knobs for, the tone and the volume pots. So they're clear, and, sorry, you're not gonna be able to see them super great, but they're clear. The ones I got, and probably most that are available, are completely clear, transparent, glassy, if you will. But the ones that are on the Chris Cornell guitar are cloudy, or a little bit, I guess cloudy would be the term, or matte finish. And I figured out a way to make those look pretty good. So I've done it to 2 of them, and I'll do it to the rest, but I'm gonna maybe make a full video or a short video on how I did that. So that's those. Okay, so now on to the bigger and more complex parts of this project. The big one, probably the elephant in the room, is the finish on the guitar. Now, I've seen a lot of YouTube videos about how to take poly off a guitar, but they're typically on a Stratocaster or a Telecaster or something like that. That's a solid body guitar. This obviously has binding. It obviously is a hollow body guitar that has a laminate top. So it has thin layers of, this one I think has 5 layers of maple. The Gibson version has maple, poplar, and maple, so 3 pieces of the sandwich. Anyway, so this is going to be a pretty difficult task, I think, or at least take a lot of work. I've seen one person, I think, on YouTube kind of go into some detail, maybe 2. One was Dr. Nitro. I don't know, his channel's not called Dr. Nitro, but I'll try to put a link eventually to his because I found it helpful. The other one was some forums that I came across where people had taken the finish off of like Epiphone casinos, things like that. So I've got some ideas just to kind of clue you in. Heat gun maybe, paint stripper, maybe. I'm gonna kind of do some experimentation, see what works best, but that's gonna be tricky. But you're gonna want to stay tuned because not a lot of people, like I said, have done that, and I'm sure there are more than a few that would be interested to see if it's possible and how hard it is. Most people say don't even try it. So I bought this guitar specifically to destroy it, to take the paint off, and it's beautiful. I mean, I'm actually not a huge fan of this finish. I like more of the traditional tobacco burst on an ES335, but like on the dots. But you know, this has grown on me a little bit. It is, you know, a beautifully figured top, and they did a pretty good job. I like for the sunburst or the darker part of the paint to sort of fill up the Mickey Mouse ears, and this one has these like little like pretty sharp cuts in the paint and the sunburst or whatever. Well, whoops. Yeah, so anyway, so that's gonna kind of help me to be able to destroy this finish because I'm not a huge fan of it as is. Like I said, it has grown on me a little bit, but all in all, if I were to pick a guitar out in this style, it would not necessarily be this color motif. Okay, so the last thing is the headstock. Now, this is going to be a point of contention for some people. I'm definitely going to go Gibson headstock shape, and I was looking for some idea of like the comparison of the new Epiphone headstock versus the Gibson, and I couldn't find a lot of information. You know, I could guess, I could overlay pictures on top of each other and get an idea, but I couldn't get a good idea. So I do have a good idea now that I have it in hand, and I have a Gibson Les Paul, I have a Gibson acoustic, and I have a template headstock that I've compared to. So there's some good news on that front. Now, the other thing, the more difficult thing about that is I'm probably not going to be able to reuse this Epiphone logo even if I wanted to, and thus I'm probably going to put a Gibson logo on it. I know. I've done that before, and a lot of people don't like it, but it is going to be my guitar. I'm not going to sell it probably. If I do, it will be full disclosure. I'm obviously documenting all the stuff I'm doing to it. I'm not going to put a serial number on it, and most importantly, it's going to have this Epiphone sticker right down here in the F-hole that you can always see, and that'll be sort of a little Easter egg as to the true identity of the guitar. Now, also on the headstock, I'm going to have to re-drill the holes for the tuners. You know, I could possibly get away with not doing that, but they don't really line up with the Gibson headstock template, so that's going to be interesting. I don't own a drill press. I've always thought that drill presses were like super expensive, but I've seen some stuff like you could buy on Amazon and Harbor Freight that's pretty reasonable, and it's probably about time that I invested in one. So that's going to be an adventure for sure. All of this is going to be an adventure, and like I said, stay tuned, especially for the taking off of the polyurethane. That will be that's going to be something. So hopefully it will go to plan, and even if it doesn't, you're going to be in on the journey, and hopefully you'll learn something. So this is an overview. What I'm going for that olive drab green with the sort of worn in raw nickel hardware, Filtertrons, which I haven't mentioned it. You may or may not know the Chris Cornell guitar has Lollartrons. So they're true Filtertrons, but they fit in a humbucker size cover, so they'll fit in these pickup rings. I'm going for a different pickguard. I'm gonna have to do, I haven't even mentioned this yet, but I'm gonna have to not rewire it necessarily, but I would have to take all the guts out to wire in the new pickups. So I'm probably gonna take the opportunity to just get everything new. I think I may go with like a Mojo Tone pre-wired solderless thing where you can, in the future, if I want to put humbuckers back in, I can just like pull this little dogtail out. It's probably not pigtail, maybe is a better word, but I could take that out and not even have to unsolder, just disconnect and then put new pickups in, connect them, and then stick it back in the F-hole, and hopefully that will be, you know, way more of less effort than trying to pull all this in and out of the guitar. Because I know that can be a real bear from just watching people try to do it online and reading about it. So that's also going to be something that's not probably going to be very fun. But I'm going to have to take all this out, obviously, to paint the guitar, and then I'll have to figure out the new pickup configuration and all that. So that's basically it. Yeah, head to tail. Oh, I've also done this to the guitar thus far. I've widened the binding. I've not literally physically widened it, but I've taken the color off some of the binding so that it appears thicker and it gives it more of an outline. So that will be in the videos somewhere also. And I think that about does it. I may have left something out, but I think that gives you a good enough overview of what's going to be going on with this thing. Please stay tuned. It's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. It could be a headache, but we're going to try to enjoy the process. And I'm really looking forward to the end result and having that. This thing plays great thus far. It does have some fret things. I've found some high frets that I've had to do some stuff to, but nothing major. It's in the fretboard. I keep thinking of things I've forgotten. The fretboard was really pasty, like pale and anemic, and so I've worked on that and I've gotten it a lot better. I may do some more, but it's gotten pretty good. I'm pretty satisfied with it, and it's pretty close to some of my other guitars with rosewood fingerboards. This one is Laurel. I didn't mention that, but okay, I think that is it. We're gonna have fun with this. It's gonna be good. So thanks for watching. Stay tuned, subscribe and like and comment. It obviously helps. I know everyone says that, but thanks for watching. I appreciate it. See you next time. I don't have it figured out, but I take